I'm Joe Warmington, filling in for Michael Corrin tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Michael's favorite part of the week, the Rumble. Yay. Joining me here in the studio, our Sun News contributor, David, the Menzoid Menzies, and Burlington City Councillor Marianne Mead Ward. Welcome back.
How
are
you
guys?
Good, Joe.
Now, is it your favorite part of the show?
It is my favorite part of the show. In fact, if it wasn't for the dynamic between you two, it would have been me filling in for the Menzoid and you co-hosting, as you often do here, when Michael's off.
I think they made the right call.
Michael's off in Las Vegas or somewhere where the Christians go.
Well, if you want to see some real dynamic, invest in a little mistletoe, and then we'll get a real 5 coupon ride going.
The restraining order is still in effect, David.
But, we've got lots to talk about here. It's been quite a banner week, and the one thing that really stuck out was the Canada Post business, where there's going to be no more home delivery, and so you guys go at it. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Joe, what I don't understand in the reporting is it's the end of home delivery in urban areas. It's the end of a tradition. Well, actually, the way it should be phrased is, here's a plan to save Canada Post. They're losing hundreds of millions. By 2020, at the current rate, they're going to be losing over $1 billion a year. I mean, people...
Just another billion?
But except
Canada.
But this is a federal agency. I mean, in Ontario, this would probably get, a Government Agency of the Year award, I guess, because they're only losing $1 billion, right? But, I mean, to lament the loss of home delivery of letters, and I don't know about you, Joe, or you, Marianne Mead Ward, the bulk of my mail is junk mail and bills, and I can even get the bills online if I chose to do so. It's like going to bat for the manufacturer of a buggy whip. It is almost an irrelevant entity in today's world.
It really isn't, and I think you have to understand that if you take it away from homes, you're affecting a lot of people that can't get to, some seniors, disabled people. They cannot get to the boxes. And those boxes, there's no place for them on the sidewalks. I think that Canada Post has to have a serious hard look at cutting other expenses. They're talking about increasing the fees and cutting service. What private business would do that and still survive?
Well, so you mean privatize it and get rid of these unions like the Royal Mail did?
I don't think.
Hold on a second.
So
the Royal Mail. Wait a second. Hold on.
The Rumble. It's the Rumble. We got to go on.
Forget about the CEO's salary. The Royal Mail in Britain, which was a dog with fleas, has been privatized. This year, they are going to turn a profit of over £330 million. All right.
So and the CEO's salary will probably be quadrupled with bonuses thrown in. The CEO makes $500,000 a year, and you're complaining and picking on the union guys. It's completely ridiculous.
No, do the math, Marianne Mead Ward.
They need to look at, if this guy, for his salary, we are constantly told with CEO compensation, we need to pay to get the good guys in.
Yeah.
This guy cannot turn this around. I could go in there and say, look, start cutting some expenses. Don't cut your services. Don't beat up on your frontline workers, and make it work. And I think that mail is actually going to be more relevant
let me ask you, Marianne,
than ever in the future, because it doesn't get lost.
Marianne Mead Ward, is that what the game is that the Menzoids pointed out, that they're trying to sell this off to somebody, that it ends up being in private enterprise? Or is it what it purports to be?
I don't have strong feelings about whether it needs to be privatized or a public service. What I do have strong feelings about is that typically when something gets privatized, then the service to the most vulnerable drops off the table, and that's why you want to have a government entity in there to make sure that everybody is treated fairly. But this government entity is now taking the service away from folks.
Menzoid, I know you care about people. I mean,
yes.
It's a service that's been around for
a
few years. A few years.
Okay.
So they're just out of nowhere just said, we're going to cut it off. I mean, not everybody's wired up. There are all kinds of people that kind of got used to the mail. Is there any value in sort of maybe phasing it in a little slower, or is it with a scalpel?
Joe, it's already been phased in. If you live in a suburban development that was put in after the mid-'80s, you are going to a super mailbox. I live in Richmond Hill. I don't get door-to-door delivery, never have. I have to walk to a...
But those are I won't say they're properly... well, in the new subdivisions, yes, there are those mail depots, but they're built into the subdivision, and in some cases, not all, tall. They're properly built with a facility to drive up. On my neighborhood, downtown Burlington, you've got very narrow sidewalks, very close to the street. You have homes close to the street. It's compact urban form, traditional.
Then obviously it can't be done. Let's throw in the towel. Thank God you weren't part of the space program. We never would have got a rocket ship in the air. Holy smokes!
And no one's going to be able to get to them safely. But not only that,
how about this?
Not everybody can go out and get their mail.
Here's a solution. Shoppers Drug Mart, which has mail outlets already, you could put a super box there. In malls, you could put super boxes there. You can think about this. And by the way, this is why you pay a CEO, Marianne Meade Ward, extra money.
To figure out how to increase rates and cut service. Wow. That's worth the $500,000 we're paying.
There was that great report in a way, but it was more of a commercial, I think, for Amazon. But with that, that drones that deliver, could that be? Could something like that be happening?
I think looking at how they do their business is fine. Their parcel package delivery is going up. So yes, the industry is changing. Just about every industry is changing. And I think that if they looked at how they do their business, they could change. But
what about cutting the outrageous salary and benefits that they get?
Of the CEO?
No, of the rank and file.
Okay, the rank and file are not the problem.
It's a good scrap.
There.
We'll go to break. We'll continue the scrap, and then we'll come back and talk about some more stuff.
His father has reportedly agreed to pay roughly $500,000 to send him to a pricey rehab center in California. Couch's attorney said the sentence will teach the teen that there are consequences for his actions.
Taking him away from his family and teaching him to be a responsible citizen, that's a consequence.
I don't know. It seems like a joke to me, but time now, folks, for part 2 of the Rumble with Sun News contributor David Demenzoid Menzies and Burlington City Councillor Marianne. We've got to get you a nickname, Meade Ward.
I won't tell you what they called me in high school.
They're calling it, I know none of us here at the desk, and maybe Michael Corrin has this problem, but affluenza is not our problem.
I didn't know that was a legal criminal defense until now.
Welcome to 2013, and there's only 4 people dead, and somehow this is an excuse. Take it away.
Absolutely shameful, this whole thing. And even just listening to the defense attorney that taking him away from his family is somehow going to be a punishment. Reading about this family and this father who apparently was an absentee father and the mother who was, lost in her own world, and very clearly we're not giving the son the attention or the guidance that he needed.
The dead are taken away from their families.
Well, but so taking this kid away from his family is probably the best thing that ever happened to him. This is not a punishment. This is he needs to be incarcerated for a period of time. He clearly needs some sort of rehab, but to take away any jail time for this is absolutely appalling.
Before you go, just quickly explain what this guy did.
Yes, Joe. This is a 16-year-old in Texas, got inebriated, drove a Ford F-350. That's one really big pickup truck, right into a cluster of pedestrian waiting off to the side of the road. 4 people dead, 2 critically injured in hospital. I guess the 4 dead, the father said $500,000 for rehab, so $125,000 per head. I guess
affluenza. That's affluenza.
And the idea that this would be codified as, because he's a poor little rich boy, you don't understand, what he had to endure. Joe, you and I assume Marianne Meade Ward here know that if this was some kid from the wrong side of the tracks that did this, he is getting a life sentence, maybe, right?
An African American from an inner city suburb would not be going to rehab.
This same judge, by the way, evidently, there was a disadvantaged person, the other side of the tracks kind of person that got into a fight where it resulted in accidental death, and that person was given 11 years. So why does that person get 11 years for the murder of one? And you can call this an accident. I think if you get smashed behind the wheel and plow into somebody, that's the same as shooting them in this day and age of what we know about drunk driving. This judge should be removed from the bench, and shame on all these, bleeding hearts that go, because he's so rich and because daddy didn't give him enough attention, he's got a condition like diabetes or something.
Well, that's the thing.
It's disgusting.
It seems that the lawyers love to get ways of getting their clients out of trouble, not just the money, but coming up with these tags like affluenza.
Well, that lawyer hit a home run, on, Joe.
Let me switch it. It's just as upsetting as the battered woman syndrome issue, and a professor feels that a battered woman has every right to murder her husband. And you know the story. You know, why don't you explain a little bit, and then give us your view, and then we'll let Menzoid.
Yeah. So what the professor is arguing for is that women who kill their abusive husbands when they are not an immediate threat. So he maybe beat her up earlier in the night and passed out on the couch, and then she goes and gets a gun and shoots him while he's asleep. She is saying that should also be considered battered women's defense and should not be even charged.
Do you agree with that?
You know what? I do think that there are women who, I think that when you go through the court system, the courts already take into account if there are extenuating circumstances. So I don't think you need a special defense. I totally disagree that a woman who claims that she shot her passed out husband with this defense should automatically be given a break. But certainly the court has to take that into consideration in the court system, and they have done. There are women who have claimed and been proven and validated that it was battered women's syndrome.
This is advocating murder. Menzoid, this is advocating the murder of future men.
It is, Joe, and it's completely illogical what this Ottawa professor is going to bat for. First of all, she likened a battered woman to being an incarcerated prisoner. That's completely false. Battered women can and do flee the house. There are shelters for women, and what's more, police are very, sympathetic to that. When they, very well, Joe, when they go to a domestic, they have to take somebody away as being charged. Very often it is the man. So it's not as though you are a prisoner, in any kind of a dungeon.
I can't leave that alone, though.
No, but wait a second. No, please. I'd let you speak, Marianne. Let me finish this.
How many parts are there to this argument?
No. Here's the second part of of how illogical this argument is. What if we extend this to a child, right? If a child is being beaten or spanked, does he or she have the right to murder his or her parents?
Well, we've seen kids use that
What
argument.
if we have a lesbian couple, and what if one lesbian is a bully and battering the other lesbian? Does the battered lesbian have a right to go after that woman and kill her in her sleep?
Okay,
I think that the courts have recognized that there are situations of domestic abuse where those circumstances are taken into account in the sentencing, and they should be. They should be taken into account. But women, the most dangerous time for a woman, and this has been proven time and time again, when they actually get killed by their partners, it's when they're trying to leave. So to say that they're not a prisoner, there is something to that, and it is very difficult for them to leave safely. But I don't agree.
BWS, battered wife syndrome, has actually been debunked.
It hasn't been debunked. There are women
because
that
there are so many women.
traumatized.
You should read a book, Marianne B. Ward, called Men Who Hate Women and the Women Who Love Them. And so often the women voluntarily go back to the thug that's beating them, thinking it's their fault.
There's a whole psychology to it.
But there are ways out, but one of the ways out shouldn't be murdering somebody in their sleep.
Why is the professor saying this? Why is the professor saying
Because she understands that women are at their most vulnerable when they're trying to leave. But what the solution isn't to give women a free pass to shoot their husbands. The solution is
that's what her solution is.
So I don't agree with her approach. Yeah. But we do have to be more sympathetic to women. Our homeless shelters are not an answer. Yeah, even the police, we've come an awfully long way, and the police are much better than they used to be. Well, we're not there yet as a society.
Joe, a woman who's battered, and to me, that is the ultimate violation of the Guy Code. No man in any circumstance should lay a hand on a woman.
Absolutely. But it happens.
But the solution is to go to the police, go to the courts. You are going to receive an incredibly sympathetic ear and put the creep behind bars instead of murdering him in his sleep.
The other challenge is that those creeps get out later. Or if they're sophisticated enough, they get someone to order a hit on their spouse. And so that has to be taken into consideration.
First. That's what the professor's saying.
That's what she's saying. I can't advocate that. I can't advocate her approach, but there are challenges.
A little pre-booking for Michael Koren. Elizabeth Sheehy should be a guest here on the Arena with Michael. I think that'd be great, and you guys can come back and debate it.
Excellent.
Let's switch it. It's been such a serious rumble, lots of serious topics, and let's lighten it up a little bit. MP Dr. Kelly Leach, for some reason, was banned from the Santa Claus Parade, not for smoking crack. We had to get the joke in. Everybody else seems to dine out on Mayor Ford jokes.
No, you have to be.
But for candy canes, this is a pediatric surgeon, somehow knows about kids, and yet they didn't want her at the Christmas
I think she should have been
parade.
giving out those wonderful little orange clementines that are so tasty.
Yes. It wasn't healthy enough snack.
Those would be. I don't think it was the health issue though. She was tossing them out of a car. And kids were running up to the car, and there was a concern that, this is a moving vehicle, and it's slow, of course, but kids are going to reach down and grab these things. It was disrupting the whole parade. So I think the issue is...
Actually, Marianne Mead Ward, you have forgotten what it's like to be young. I brought my kids to parades that are quasi Mardi Gras, where they're tossing candies, tossing necklaces, cheap plastic
But those are walking.
Things. Hold on a second.
Right? They're walking. They're not in a car.
No. Yes, of course. They're mobile floats, and this is being tossed. And it's a huge thrill to catch one of these things. And these organizers are saying, oh, well, it's a projectile. Little Johnny might get a Tootsie Roll in the eye. And what about the litter? If it drops, we have to pick it up.
It is.
Yeah, we'll avoid. Yeah, a little chocolate bar on the road. That's litter. What about with the horses dumping in the parade?
That's organic.
This is nanny statism, which I know you love, Marianne Mead Ward. You're the Mary Poppins of the nanny state.
So when she eventually got out of her car and then was handing them out along the route, that was better. So you have to distinguish: is it the manner in which she was distributing, which was the safety issue,
or is it
it's not a safety issue?
It was a safety issue.
You're a politician.
Yes.
Right. Kelly Leach is a politician.
Yes.
Do you think for a minute that Kelly Leach would want to hurt any children?
It's not about the intentionality. Of course she wouldn't. But you don't always think about the consequences. And I think they've sorted it out. So she's actually been unbanned now. So she's going to be able to come to the Santa
No more
Claus.
candy canes for the kids?
Well, she may be able to give them out, but I think she's going to have to walk the beat. She's going to have to walk.
Well, Joe, it sounds like the most thrilling Santa Claus parade, right? Nobody have fun. Nobody have any treats. Nobody have any candy canes.
So
where do I bring Junior Manzoy to this thing?
The way we
Holy
do it in
smokes.
Burlington is we have people walking, collecting the letters from the children for Santa Claus, and that's the way to do it.
Well, I was going to suggest,
I
I have a solution as we wind up here. Great Rumble, by the way. Thank you for going easy on me. We're going to have a lot of letter carriers out of work, so let's just get them to hand it to the kids.
Yes, take the mail.
Anyway, really have a super weekend and a super Christmas.
You too.
I know that Michael Corrin, it really is his favorite part of the show.
All right.
You guys are fantastic.
God bless us all, Tiny Tim.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
All right, we'll stick around.
Thanks, caller.
Folks.
Merry Christmas.